I wanted to come on here and really talk to you guys about this whole Rick and Morty situation, the Rick and Morty show. Apparently, the co-creator slash voice actor of both Rick and Morty apparently in 2020 he approached women and this is nothing like the Johnny Depp case where out of nowhere things blew out of proportion. This was worked in the system. Okay, they did their background checks, they did their checkings. It didn't just blow out saying I got sexually harassed by the co-creator of Rick and Morty. No. The policemen who the women came forward to did their due diligence. They did their work. So trust me when I say this is nothing like Rick and Morty or Johnny Depp situation. Secondly, this is thankfully nothing like Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller did a lot of stupid shit. A lot. And the reason I'm doing this, even though some people are comparing these to these allegations, that's why I'm bringing this up. And and other podcasters have talked about this too. I've seen John Campy talk about this, who I can understand. So I really wanted to make clear from someone who has been in a harassment victim, because I was sexually touched in the boys' bathroom by a bully. So coming from both perspectives, I think this is valid because they did their work. And you know what? There's even reports that the women who came forward have evidence of the text messages he sent and the text messaging that they've had together. Apparently, there's not only allegations, there's also evidence, like credible evidence that they found from these allegations. That's not talking about due diligence or the police officers did their work before blowing this out. Plus, they did this during the COVID pandemic. So before anybody jumps to, oh, this is another Johnny Depp situation, oh, this is nothing like Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller has incredibly dumbfounded, stupid situations. And I mean incredibly dumb by Warner Brothers, who did not do their work, did not help Ezra Miller like they should have, gotten their shit together, and instead gave hush money to people. This did not happen in this situation. More credibly, there is evidence. There are women coming forward from text messages from this guy. I can't even say it. From this co-creator. I understand from people, from someone who has been sexually harassed or inappropriate touch, whichever way it's profound, that when you do this, when you're harassed, you need to go to the police. And the policemen had to do their work. And they did their work. There's even evidence that women came forward from text messages from this guy. So, that being said, what Adult Swim had to do was very appropriate at the time. They had to fire him. Because look, even if you are guilty or not, for the people who work there, who have been sexually harassed, who have been sexually touched, who have been inappropriately abused, or sexually abused, you cannot say, oh, I can't be fired yet. You know, the court, it's his shit. He put himself in this situation, and they can't allow it with their company. And the fact that this corporation of Warner Brothers really let this guy in and they did nothing, I would not be surprised if they heard of these allegations and they did nothing. Now that they are doing something and waking up on their asses and firing the guy before anything else. Now, I used to binge watch Rick and Morty because I actually liked the show. I think I binge watched it like during the COVID pandemic, a lot of it during the COVID pandemic. I forget which season I was on, but I know I was almost close to the end. Or almost caught up. And I now feel more disgusted now that I have these skins from Rick and Morty. I have the Rick costume from Fortnite character skin season chapter 2 or was it chapter 3 season 2? I think it was chapter 3 season 2 that the alien invasion was, because I know that was the one that had the Rick skin in Fortnite, I think. Anyway, there are serious craziness when it comes to these sexual harassment cases. And they did their work. They didn't just jump on the bandwagon and say, okay, we need to just say, blur it out. No, they did their work. Even during the COVID pandemic, they did their work. They didn't just blur it out. They did their due diligence. They have evidence. They have text messages from the co-creator being inappropriate to these women who came forward. And I know that there is a lot of issues. And that's why I'm talking about this right now, because I understand from somebody who was sexually harassed, and because I think that's how people would jump to how I was harassed, and from someone who's had this system work, I can see how this was done right and how it wasn't done the Amber Heard way. If you know what I'm implying here. You know, these are during crazy times. This is during a lot of COVID pandemic. It stirred up a lot of crazy people, but now that the COVID pandemic has calmed down, there's less people getting infected. There's stupidly more people who are choosing not to get vaccinated after they have their ones. But I and my mom are doing it annually once a year. However, people are looking at this differently than they should, because the policemen did their work. They said, okay, we've done our work during the COVID pandemic. We kept this hush for 2 years. We need to pull this out. We need to come forward with this. So believe me, from someone who was sexually harassed and someone who listens and really is doing their work and listening to research and looking this up, looking up articles. I'm doing my work, due diligence. But this is a lot like the Drake Bell situation. When someone from Cuyahoga County in Ohio a girl who had an inappropriate, abusive relationship with Drake Bell. Drake Bell has not been a lot really in his mindset. He's been a little bit of a boo-hoo. This woman came forward, and Drake Bell did confirm that he is sorry and whatever, so trust me. When you hear that the policemen have done their work just like they did with Drake Bell, that means this isn't some Johnny Depp situation. Or Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation. This is an actual situation that was worked through the system carefully and calmly crafted through the situation, worked its way through, and said, okay, we have some tangible evidence. We are currently out of the COVID craziness zone. We can say what's going on. And there are more than one woman that he has done this to. Because that situation. Amber Heard just jumped to on a magazine saying, yeah, Johnny Depp was abusive or whatever. And apparently there was no evidence. In this case, on the co-creators Rick and Morty sexual assault court case, there is tangible evidence. And the policemen, the juries did their work and said, okay, we need to come forward with this right now. I understand how some people can take this wrongly, but when you hear someone doing this, doing the work, just like they did the work with, Ezra Miller, they did their work and they got his ass and nailed his ass in a cell and put him in the psych ward. You know they did their work. Please do not jump to this being an Amber Heard case. And, I really hope people learn from this and learn that, you know what, we need to be, as a community, not a society, a community, to come together and say, okay, how do we carefully do this more? Instead of just blaring it out and jumping out of crazy proportions. Thank you. This is your Corey Dreamer signing off.